Hello again. I'm sure that we're all of us familiar with the concept of the microaggression, those casual remarks or actions by white people which have the effect of making black people feel unwelcome or ill at ease. Telling somebody that his or her name is hard to pronounce, for instance, or, the most common apparently, asking where somebody is really from. This seemingly happens when a black person says that he is from Manchester, say, and then somebody says, but where are you really from? The idea is that white people never honestly accept black people as English, but subconsciously think of them as being of foreign heritage. Of course, this idea has a very ancient history. When Daniel O'Connell was on trial for conspiracy in 1844, a speech of his was quoted in which he had said of the Duke of Wellington, "The poor old Duke, what shall I say of him? To be sure he was born in Ireland, but being born in a stable does not make a man a horse." The motif of the stable has been adapted in the modern world, and it is sometimes said of black people born in Britain that just because a dog is born in a stable, that doesn't make it a horse. The implication is that no black person can really be British in the way that a white person born in this country is British, merely by virtue of being born here. This then is the root of the supposed microaggression, that by not accepting that everybody born in Britain of foreigners or immigrants is really British in the way that white British are. On the face of it, many people would describe this attitude as being definitely racist, but closer examination shows something very interesting. I have here a book called Everyone versus Racism, a letter to my children. It's by a man called Patrick Hutchinson. Some viewers might remember that during the Black Lives Matter disorders in London in 2020, there was a widely publicised photograph of a big black guy rescuing a white man, supposedly a racist, from a mob who were trying to kill him. There's a lot about that story which is very odd, by the way. I might do a video about it, in detail. However, this is a book written by a black man explaining all about the evils of racism. Let me quote two sentences. Hutchinson, the author, is of Jamaican heritage, and he says on page 146, referring to English people, they would ask where I was really from after I tell them I'm from South London. In fact, since he was born in Coventry, I think that's a perfectly reasonable question. But anyway, here we see the archetypal microaggression in action. I mean, why would they say that? He was born in England just like us. Shocking. Shocking, that is, until we read page 35, in which Hutchinson says that I grew up as a Caribbean boy on a council estate between Battersea and Clapham. Now, this is very revealing. I am English. It's my single identity. My family are all British, and my ancestry is rooted in the British Isles. Being English or British is my only identity. It is who I am by ancestry and birth, as is the case with every other white person whose family are from this country. Although he was born in England, though, Patrick Hutchinson does not regard himself as English or British. He says that he grew up as a Caribbean boy. In other words, even though he was born in this country, by his own admission, he's not as English as me. He has a dual identity, as do most children of immigrants and foreigners born in this country. I know teenagers who were born in England to parents who were also born in England, but who describe themselves as being Jamaican or Pakistani. That is their primary identity, rather than English. Indeed, some of these third generation children of immigrant families actually talk about the English, and it is clear that they see a difference, an opposition almost, between the English and them and their families. In other words, asking a black person or Asian where he is really from is not a microaggression at all, but rather an acknowledgement that he has a different heritage from me, that he is certainly not English in the same way that I am English. He doesn't think so, so why should I? As I read from this book, here is a 50-year-old man who was born in England, spent his entire life here, yet in an unguarded moment he reveals that he doesn't think of himself as English at all. He's Caribbean. Of course, this is the curse of multiculturalism. In the 1960s, anybody coming to live in this country was expected to integrate and become English. And a lot of people did at that time. I know Indian people, old people, and they're more English than the English, because when they came here in the 50s and 60s, they were expected to become English, and they did. That's not how it is now, because at some point a lot of intellectuals decided it wasn't right, that immigrants should preserve their own culture, their own language, their own customs. This is the result. People who have been born in this country and grown up here who claim to be Caribbean or Pakistani. Microaggression indeed. It's simply accepting people at their own estimation.